Welcome again, Brother Mathew. In the last episode, you talked to me about your journey to Islam. You spent several years as a nominal Muslim, and then you decided it's time to take it seriously. Now, you've been also an activist for Palestine.
Yes.
Now, did this start before you embraced Islam or afterwards?
After, I would say. Palestine has always been close to my heart for the reasons I said. You know, obviously I would read in the paper about Palestine, and my mum was a big fan of Yasser Arafat, so therefore Palestine has always been in my heart. And of course, I went to Palestine in 2019. I went and ran the half marathon there, raising money for orphan Palestinian girls at school in East Jerusalem. And
was that your first visit?
It was, yeah. I've only been there once. So we went to Hebron, went to Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron, and ran a half marathon. And it was the experiences I had. First of all, when we arrived, we were queuing up, and there was myself. So there was a white Englishman, Matthew James Robinson, in the passport, with 100 Muslims. I was a Muslim, of course, but they didn't know that. So anyway, I go up to the booth, ask me all these questions. What are you here for? Yeah, leisure. Where are you staying? I was like, Rashid, where are we staying? And they're like, are you with him? And I'm like, yeah. He said, right, go and stand over there. So I stood over there on the side. Within half an hour, they're like, Mathew Robinson, you're clear to go through. I gave me my passport. 8 hours later, they kept aunties, grandparents, babies, they kept them for 8 hours, 100 people for no reason. That was my introduction to Israel, you know? And then every time I tried to go to pray in Al-Aqsa, this was an amazing experience as well. I was so tired, and we arrived at about 3 in the morning, and I was going to go. I was like, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. And one of the brothers said to me, are you mad? You can sleep when you're dead. Come and pray Fajr, Al-Aqsa with us. I was like, okay. Prayed Fajr, and then went and did my Sunnah prayers in the spot where the Imam had prayed, in the same spot the Prophet ﷺ had prayed. And it was the most emotional experience. I cried afterwards. It was really, really touching. Alhamdulillah. So every time we tried to get into the compound, into Al-Aqsa compound, into the courtyard, you have to go through the old town. We'd go through Jericho Gate, down through the old town. And it was always the police, they were Druze, D-R-U-Z-E.
Yeah, regrettably, yeah.
And they were nasty to us.
Most brutal.
Awful. You can't go in. Why not? Because you're not a Muslim. You're not allowed in. And I had to argue with them every time. And in the end, by the third day, I got rid of my baseball cap and I bought my prayer cap. I had a beard anyway, and they didn't bother me after that. But you know, I had to recite Al-Fatiha to the police inside.
To prove to them.
To prove to them, you know. But that was minors, you know. That was a small thing. And then one other time, we were walking through the gates, and the other guys had gone on ahead of us, and there was loads of laughing, and I saw the Muslim charity was Muslim charity. Saw this banner being waved around and then thrown on the ground, and all this laughing. And the laughing was coming from the guards, the police, and they took the brother's passport, and then I remonstrated, and they threatened to arrest me and take my passport. And in the end, I called to their commanding officer. I was like, "Can you please control this situation?" And he looked at me, and I thought, I didn't know what he was going to do. But he turned around to these policemen and was like, give him his passport. So he gave him his passport back to the brother, and kept hold of the banner, and we had to pick it up on the way back. It was just all these little bullying tactics that make your life difficult.
And it's for them a way of life.
Yeah, every single day. To go anywhere, you get hassled and harangued and bullied by these.
Now let's go back to your career. Before you became Muslim, or probably for a while, even after you became a Muslim initially, you were working, as you told me the last time, in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Now, how does that compare to the present?
Financially, it's much better.
It used to be much better.
Well, yeah, it used to be much better.
True.
However, you know, that's not fair. You know, that's not fair to say that really. It's, for me, spiritually and emotionally, and for my deen, for the afterlife, is so much better. You know, there's no comparison. You know, I did, as I said, I did Big Brother, X Factor, Strictly, all of these shows. And they never brought me anything. They brought me money, but they never brought me. There was pride and ego was definitely part. My nafs were fed. But you know, once you know what do you do? You've done it. You've edited it. You're at the top of your game in light entertainment, and what it meant nothing. You know.
You were strictly in entertainment, or you did news as well?
I did. I was with a couple of agencies. And I edited Sir David Frost. I think it was his last ever interview before he died for Al Jazeera. He interviewed Shimon Peres. And that was where my first exposure to unedited, uncensored news footage, newsreel. And it was the most horrific stuff from the 2008 attack on Gaza. I saw, I'm not even going to describe what I saw, but again, it made me cry. And I felt physically sick. I felt angered. I emailed the Israeli embassy. I think I was so furious. You know, and there is no real comparison between the two worlds of mainstream and in the Muslim sector. But going back to what you were asking me before about the activism, you know. As a humanitarian, so I studied humanitarian response to conflict and disaster online, Harvard University year before last.
What was a diploma, or
it's a postgraduate diploma. But it was, you know, as a humanitarian filmmaker, which is what I became, working for charities, I had to be neutral. I couldn't take sides, and that was one of the things. In fact, when I was leaving.
That's not easy, by the way.
No, but when I was leaving Tel Aviv airport, I used to, alhamdulillah, I've stopped smoking. I used to smoke cigarettes, and I had a quick sneaky cigarette before we went into the airport to go and jump on the plane. And so I came in at the back of everybody of our group, and these two ladies come up and go, "Would you like to jump in front of this group, sir?" And I'm like, "No, I'm with this group." Okay. 5 minutes later, "Can you come with us, please?" They took me to this stand. So asked me a whole load of questions. Why have you come to Israel? Who did you come to Israel with? And I'm like, well, I came to run the Palestine half marathon. Why would you only run for Palestinians? I said, I'd run for anybody. Would you run for Israel? Yes, I'd run for Israel. And asked me, what do you think of Gaza? And I wish I'd been quicker and said, he was a phenomenal footballer, but alcohol ruined his life and his career. But I wasn't quick enough. I said, I'm a humanitarian, I don't take sides. And I actually stuck to that. You know, I have to stick to that as a humanitarian filmmaker. But then last year in May, watching those scenes in Al-Aqsa, the place I'd been and prayed, and it was like a dagger in my heart, and I spoke out, because if you're silent with oppression, you're one of the oppressors. That's how I see it. I couldn't stay silent, and I didn't see anything in the mainstream media. So when there were the protests, and the first protest outside Downing Street, I went down to that. I filmed it, and I put something out, and then it was taken by a channel, a Muslim channel, and they put it out, and it was shared with people. And then the second protest, and the third protest, and the fourth protest, and I just kept filming it and putting these films out, and made some connections with a few people, alhamdulillah. And one in particular was an actor, a musician from America called Michael Malarkey, and him and a brother, Isla Rahman. He's a presenter and an actor and a director and
Palestine connects people.
yes. So we sat down and we did he was one of the few celebrities to speak out. This is last year. Obviously there was Mark Ruffalo speaking out and a few other people speaking out, but everyone was being called anti-Semitic.
Yeah, you've probably followed what has happened with Emma Watson.
Yes, indeed. And that it's amazing that people are speaking out. Miriam Margolis, who's Jewish, saying what she said, and absolutely hit the nail on the head.
Now, regarding the question of neutrality, I think it's tormenting for someone to really maintain a neutrality between right and wrong, between justice and oppression. How can you? I mean, it's really tough, isn't it?
I mean, it's very difficult.
You have to have a stand.
You stand for something or die for nothing. Yeah. And that's quoting Mr. Isla there. Basically, as I said, I knew what my heart was saying, I knew what my mind was saying, but I knew that my mouth had to stay shut.
True. Because of the job.
Just to keep that neutrality, But as I said, I couldn't be silent because silence is being complicit. That's what I think, And people can rationalise and intellectualise things and make excuses of things, but there is no excuse,
Now you told me about your trip to Palestine. You told me you've been to Yemen. Of course, you've been to Pakistan because that's where you got married initially.
The first time, yeah.
The first time. Where else have you been in the region?
Okay, so I've been to Lebanon. Stopped off in Jordan on the way to Yemen, in Amman.
You flew Royal Jordanian?
We flew Royal Jordanian home.
Yeah.
I think we flew Austrian on the way out there via Vienna. But so I've been to Somaliland, Ethiopia, Gambia, Senegal, Myanmar before the genocide. Myanmar, I went in as a programs officer, smuggled my camera in.
For which channel or freelancing?
This was for a charity. Now I was a staff
charity.
Yeah. At Penny Appeal. I was working for Penny Appeal at the time, and we went into Myanmar prior to the genocide. But it was like a concentration camp. They had to take our photographs, photographed us, photographed our passports, and we went into this, opened this gate. We went through like a razor wire and 30-foot high fences to this probably 2-3 kilometre square enclosure where the Rohingyas were living.
How long did you spend there?
We were there for about 4 days, in and out, and we were followed everywhere by Secret Service. But yeah, that was one of the few places I had to smuggle my camera gear in, make a film, and then come out again. And we went to Bangladesh after the genocide, and we were informed that we were on a list in Myanmar. We can never return. Where else have we been? I've been to Bangladesh 5 times. Pakistan. Inshallah, going to be going to Afghanistan soon. We'll be going to Syria soon. But yeah, that's obviously the last 2 years. There's been hardly any travel due to COVID.
Yeah.
I went to Bangladesh in October 2020, but that's been it.
We haven't all been traveling comfortably.
Yeah.
Now, in your field of work, the media, do you see a trend of people embracing Islam? Do you see this happening more often, or is it still a rare phenomenon?
I think I think we do see more and more people embracing Islam. Definitely see more and more people embracing Islam. I think that there's a greater, because of what's been happening in the world, people who have their own minds and the critical thinkers can see what's going on in the world. People like my mum did, looked into Islam. I was like, this is an amazing religion. They're very happy with, they don't want to change, they want to stay as they are. But then of course Surah Baqarah verse 62, Sabians, Christians and Jews, those who follow the book of their Lord will too have paradise, don't know if that's the exact words, but yeah, I think there's a greater understanding. I think there's...
Despite the Islamophobia, despite the extreme right campaigns against Islam and Muslims and foreigners in general.
Yeah, but I haven't, to be honest with you, I've not really seen much. Was it the EDF or EDL? EDL.
Well, because their ideas have now migrated to the mainstream. That's the problem. The problem today is that you have prime ministers, you have presidents in Europe, you have ministers who are echoing these same weird ideas that we used in the past to hear only from these crazy people.
You do see it in mainstream media, you see it in laws across, you see the rise of the right wing and fascism across. It is neo-fascism, basically. Nationalism, you know, you see what's been going on in Bosnia with the Serbs, the paramilitaries. It's scary. It's definitely rising, without a doubt. I do think there's a real juxtaposition in this country with regards to there's a greater understanding and a acceptance with Islam. However, you've got the borders and immigration laws which are being passed. I received a text message just last week from the doctor's surgery of my son asking his ethnicity. I'm not going to reply. Why would they do that? Why would they message me specifically to ask for his ethnicity? Nothing else.
I've always wondered why it has become part of official documentation that they need to know what ethnicity you belong to. Well, usually about myself, I say other. I don't know what. Don't know how to classify myself. But I really don't know why they insist on this. Is it because they want to be fair?
Well, there were two occurrences. My daughter was staying with because I got alhamdulillah, I got married in 2020, and I'm married to Farah, an artist, and my daughter had come to visit us, and she was sick, so we had to call 111, and the guy was asking, I was asking on her behalf, and the guy was asking me the normal questions, and of course I had COVID in October 2021, almost died. I was very seriously ill, so we spent a lot of time on the phone to 111, and not once did they ask for ethnicity for me. Yet with my daughter this time, he said, "What's her ethnicity?"
Is it because of the name? Or what?
Could be, yeah. Could be because of the name, but that tied in with the text message asking for my son's ethnicity, which made me shiver. It was like, are we heading that way already? You know, maybe it's just a coincidence, but.
I remember the video clip you made in your bed in hospital when you had the COVID.
Oh yes.
That was a rare show of gratitude to the NHS that very few people express.
They're amazing, you know. Yeah. They're truly amazing, and you know, it's.
I really like that because I know they're doing a good job.
I was. My wife Farah was vaccinated, and I wasn't. I chose not to be. I don't want that poison in my body. I don't. You know. Then I got sick, and it's the worst thing I've ever experienced. And now, you know, I've got my second vaccination to come, but I've had one.
Now let's go back to your Palestinian activism. What's the most significant activity you've been involved in?
Obviously, other than making the films and campaigning that way, my wife Farah Visual Arts, she's an Islamic pop artist. With some other artists, we put on an exhibition at Cafe Palestina. So that was to raise awareness and raise money for CADFA. And CADFA is a charity that take Palestinians of the diaspora who've never been home to take them home.
Oh, you organise trips for them?
They organise trips, yeah. And so the first night was the opening night, then we had an art workshop, and then we had the screening of 5 Broken Cameras, which is a phenomenal documentary by Emad Bernat. And yeah, we raised some money and raised awareness. And I think the important thing is, you know, from everything I learned, what I learned specifically from last year was that every little share on social media, every statement, everything counts. And, you know, with regards to reporting, I was, you know, it's anybody can be a documentary filmmaker, without a doubt. You know, all you need, you got your phone, you got social media, you can share to the world what's going on. And an example of this was with less than 12 hours after the ceasefire, someone sent me a live link to a broadcast to someone who was filming in the Al-Aqsa yard, and the police had gone in again. They were firing tear gas, were hitting people with batons, and so I screen recorded that and I shared that to the people that I know, and just by doing that, it's spreading awareness, spreading the truth, because the media, the mainstream media, had skirted around it completely, you know, and
completely obscured.
Absolutely, and I think it's been a struggle and dedication from, you know, not just actors and actresses and people on social media, but also activists who've taken direct action as well. For example, you know, it's like a lot of people are aware of the Palestine situation because of the Elbit activists who have been, they've been spray painting and stopping people from going into Elbit offices. But as a result of these acts, it brings into the public domain the awareness of what's going on.
Brother Mathew, it's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.